Hello everybody, this is Money Mom. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about why I'm no longer budgeting. Let's get started and talk about it. And before turning it off and saying what, you're no longer going to be a quote frugal channel, you're no longer going to be Money Mom, please at least hear me out. So you guys know that I've been on YouTube over 4 years. We did pay off some debt, which is fabulous. I do think budgets can be wonderful, but I want to tell you what I find in my own personal experience, the issue with budgeting. One of the main things is I've done all different kinds of budgets. I've done the spreadsheets, I've written things down, and one of the biggest things I've found is they just are so time consuming, and what it ends up happening are one of three things, and this is what I've discovered. Let's say, for example, number one, you have a $400 budget for groceries. What I've seen folks do, and I've seen myself do this, is let's say 1 month you find some fabulous deals you want to stock up on, but you say, oh, I can't go over my grocery budget, and so you don't end up taking advantage of some really fabulous deals. Or, on the other hand, you end up spending $400 when you really didn't need to. So I think in that way, sometimes budgets can really be limiting to some people if they want to stick strictly to that budget. I've seen that happen with clothing. Somebody will say, or fun money. For example, I've had times where I've given myself $20 fun money, but guess what? I found out there wasn't anything I really needed. I've had people say, oh, you should treat yourself. But in all honesty, I really didn't have a desire to treat myself to anything, and I was really perfectly happy and content with what I had. So I was totally fine. So I think sometimes budgets can be fabulous, but I think placing so many rules on ourselves, at least this is from my personal experience, since it's personal finance, I find it can be limiting. That's number one. Number two, I think sometimes you can end up having a scarcity mindset where you obsess, because a lot of times I've noticed in the frugal community, it's not about creating wealth. It's all about cut, everything to the bare bones. Now, sometimes it's great to do that if you've got a financial goal that's really important to you. Example being, you've got one person that wants to pay off $10,000 in debt, and by making several cuts temporarily, they can get to that goal faster. Maybe the second person has $10,000, they don't want to make drastic cuts, so it's going to take them longer. I know it's when you've got a goal, it's more fun, I think, to get there faster than letting it drag on. I think we can all agree on that one, or many of us may agree on that one, I should say. But I find that it can give you a scarcity mindset because you feel like you just got to cut back on everything. And we know we've spoken about this, spend money on what brings you value. Now, some people live a bare bones budget because they really don't feel they have a choice because they have a smaller income, and I can understand that. But some people do, and some people do it because, hey, they don't really want to spend money on some of these things because it doesn't bring them value, and that's okay too. But what I don't care to see is when we feel like it's a punishment and we have to cut back on some of the things that do bring us joy. And that's kind of what it's all about. What brings me joy may be very different than what brings you joy and brings you value. Which brings me to number three, you can end up obsessing and comparing yourself to other people. Who's the most frugal person? I've said this millions of times. I call myself modified frugal. I know that there's a lot of areas that I could definitely improve, but I've made a lot of improvements in the last 4 years, that's for sure. I know there's many channels out there and many of you who are way more frugal than me, and that's okay. And that's why I always tell everybody, you do you, I'll do me. It's personal finance, but we can still encourage one another and still learn from each other. So I do want to share that. What do I do instead of keeping a strict budget? You guys know I don't keep track of every single penny I spend. The only area that I do tend to overspend, and I just kind of reallocated my budget recently, would be groceries at times on one hand. But on the other hand, I don't. And the reason why is the longer I've been improving on my frugality, the less and less waste I have. I'd rather spend $400 or $450 or $500 a month on groceries and use everything and have virtually no food waste than spend $300 and on a bunch of things I may not like, but end up wasting things. It's all about not wasting for me. So what do I do instead of keeping a strict budget? Number one, I keep my expenses and bills fairly low. I don't have a lot to think about because I don't have a lot of bills. Number two, I'm always saving and planning ahead for anything that I know is going to come up and things that are unknown things that are going to come up. So I save as much as I can for unexpected things. For example, I didn't know we were going to need 4 new tires, but guess what? I paid cash for them and I was prepared because I planned ahead for car repairs. Number 3, I always work on the areas that I do overspend on, which for me is only one area. I would say groceries. I could probably do better at that and buy less and use what I have at home. I admit that. Bottom line is I want to be a good steward of all the blessings God gives me and make sure I use everything up and that I share any abundance that I do have. I'm basically, to sum all this video up, I'm trying to simplify my life and keep it simple, but be a grateful, good steward of all the abundance that I do have. And so because of that, I don't want to be constantly obsessing and thinking about, oh, I overspent on this area, and be always worried about that. I want to enjoy what I have here on this earth. And so that's all I have to say. I want to know what you guys think of this entire topic. I know many of you may feel that budget and tracking all of your spending and keeping a spreadsheet and spending that time is very valuable to you, and it's worth your valuable time. And I think that's great. I think we all go through different stages in our life and we each need to do what works for us. That's all I have to say on this topic. I want to tell you I love you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you on tomorrow morning's video. Bye-bye.